Well, welcome back. This is still Nightline Nigeria. If you're just joining in, it is a platform where we bring you up to speed with the socio-political issues around you. Yes, around Nigeria, from the local scene to the national scene. Well, today, like I pre-informed you, we're going to be having a talk that bothers around the evolution of politics in Nigeria. And well, to help us do justice to this is Right Honorable Orok Otu Duke. He was the former Deputy Speaker, Cross River State House of Assembly, and also a state delegate to the National Confab 2014. Good evening, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you join us.
Yes, I know you're very well grounded in Nigerian politics. You've been at the forefront of democratic agitations right back from the days of MK Abiola and all that. But Nigeria is on the verge of celebrating 60 years of nationhood. We've had a very long and turbulent ride, very turbulent journey. Some ups and some downs, some good and some not so good. I know we were talking a while back that where we are right now is because of what has happened, in the past. Some for good, some for bad, like I said. But we will try and looking at the political structure in Nigeria from before colonial rule, when the British colonialists handed Nigeria to us, so to speak. That okay, you guys should go ahead and run your thing. Looking at the political structure and behavior and attitude and the agitators at that time, swinging through the years from that 1960 to now 2020, would you say the ride has been a very smooth one?
No, it's been a turbulent ride, actually, and for obvious reasons. We fought a civil war for 3 years, and then the military had ruled Nigeria for 30 years or thereabouts. So it couldn't have been turbulent, considering the fact that we yearn to be a democratic state. And if there are so many interagna and impediments like that, we're bound to experience what we have experienced. We thought it would be that smooth sail, but it's not been for obvious reasons. And if you want to compare Nigeria at 60 years with other countries, Singapore, Malaysia, you would think we failed woefully because you're going to consider the social aspect, the religious aspect, the cultural aspect, and the economic aspects of development. And we are not there. Talk about the vocational and technical part of our education system. We are not there. Nobody manufactures anything in Nigeria from pin to aeroplane without foreign input. Nothing can be produced in Nigeria without foreign input. It's that bad. But we are still surviving because a lot of people have come to appreciate the elasticity of the Nigerian person. Elasticity in that we leave everything to God. We don't care about fixing the problem there and then. In that, we don't have electricity, we make do with gas. We don't have gas, we make do with firewood. We don't have firewood, we manage with sawdust. No sawdust, you start eating the food raw. At
Life
what
goes
point,
on.
yes, at what point are we going to complain and then try to fix it? And then you have this diversity of the population having over 250 different tribes and tongues. So everybody's like, we're trying to fight for ourselves. We're trying to see what we can take back home. They see the nationalistic aspect of it as being national cake. Let's go cut some and take home. So with that, we have total confusion. But then you look at how we started from the amalgamation point. They just joined all of us together. I keep on telling people when Calabar was the fulcrum in the southern part, Lagos wasn't there. Lagos was only conquered in 1860 and thereby put under first Sierra Leone, thereafter under Gold Coast. It was only amalgamated to Nigeria in 1906. That's when they brought in Lagos. Thereafter, the dynamics changed and people started drifting. Some of the developmental projects we have were strictly because of industrial revolution in Europe. They tried to maximize and take as many things as possible from Africa to the Western world. People even say without Africa, the whole Western world, whether the Americas, the Occident, and the Asians, they would not have survived. Almost everything is taken from Africa to develop the rest of the world. So from that point, they moved to Lagos. Even say development of Port Harcourt was strictly because they needed coal in Europe, and coal was found in Enugu. The very first thing they needed to do was to take coal out of Nigeria. So they had to construct a rail system from Enugu. They had to construct a rail system from Enugu to Port Harcourt to be able to evacuate the coal from Port Harcourt. That's how Port Harcourt was even developed. And the tribal aspect of it, if you don't support me when I win, I relocate all the development projects. So from for us, from my own point of view, which I tell my children and let them note, because you must know from when the rain started beating you. From when Eyoita was in charge of government in eastern Nigeria to when Azikiwe lost in the west, came back, connived, and threw away everything from present Akwa Ibom Cross River and rivers. Then we started agitating for core state, Calabar, Ogoja, River states. Then everybody hated us. The northerners, the easterners. It was when Awolowo came out with Action Group and said, I am the only person, if I win, that can give you the states. We now went to Action Group. Action Group lost. Okpara came and took away every major project from this side to Enugu and Port Harcourt. So we found out that we couldn't be accommodated. There were two basic positions in the Eastern Nigerian government, the governor and the premier. They gave Dr. Francis Ibiam, an Igbo man, the governor, and they also took, Igbo people took the premier, Okpara. So we, the minorities, were left with nothing. So we started agitating for our own states. And Gowon did that by creating state, thereby knocking off Biafra at that point. So it's a long story, which by the time you go into the historicity, you now know why these factors influence our development up to this moment.
So we'll take a break here. So I would like you to hold your thoughts on that. I will take a break to bring you some commercials. Don't go away. It's still Nightline Nigeria. Stay with us. Welcome back to Nightline Nigeria. Well, before we took that break, we had Right Honorable Orok Otu Duke, sharing some vital information to us as Nigerians, some that I never even knew existed. Well, let's continue that conversation, Honorable. There's an argument that Nigeria's perpetual structural problems is in reality a reflection of what our nation's elites have designed and strengthened to actually save few people at the cost of the many others. Would you agree with this or you disagree?
It's 50-50 because you look at the evolution of the system of government. Before independence, we had this kind of federal system where the communities and the component units had their police system, the tax system, and all that. And even during the independence uh, constitution of government, we had east, west, north, and later middle belt. We didn't have issues. It's just that when the coup happened, the Nzogu coup and Agbironsi, as then the most senior officer took over, the Igbos saw it as an opportunity for them to grab power. So they changed the federal system of government to a unitary system of government. Professor Nwabweze wrote that constitution, putting everything in the hands of one leader, thinking it was going to be Ron C taking charge of every part of the country. And when Ironsi was killed, other people took over. They refused to remedy that aspect and take us back to the federal system. So it has become a problem that was initially created by few greedy members of the elite class, as you just put it. And that is what we are suffering. Then when Bacha died and Abdul Salam wanted a constitution, they didn't even want to tinker with what Yadudu had drafted. The 1998 constitution or 1999 constitution is as drafted by Professor Yadudu, who was Abacha's hench person, who thought Abacha was going to become the ultimate ruler. And they designed and devised that constitution strictly for Abacha. So in the confab, we tried to change it. Yadudu was a member of the confab, and we're so angry at a point. I told him that the offspring of a snake must always have a long tail, and debates upon debates. So, like you say, they are there to serve a certain interest, whether it's religious, whether it is cultural, whether it is sectional, but everything to a large extent now borders on ethnocentrism of the classes, different classes, not the upper, not the lower, because right now we don't even have an existing middle class. So either you are very rich or you are very poor. But then all of them, despite the class they belong to, they are really blinded by that aspect of ethnocentric cleavages and leanings. So that has now come to affect our progress as a country. What happens to my people? Like I was reading last week, Sudan, Osama bin Laden lived in Sudan. They've abolished Sharia system where they were cutting hands and creating the number of beggars on the streets. But here in Nigeria, some people are now embracing
Sharia.
Sharia system of government. So we have this kind of convoluted ideas and systems that we're trying to put in place. But the bottom line is those people are always supported by the so-called poor people, not elites. The elites can hardly do anything on his own. They must be supported by, there must always be this maddening crowd cheering them on like Greek chorus members. So here we are. We have a confused system of government. Any attempt for you to remedy those pitfalls, one section at all times will always see it as an affront, as an attack on their own part of government. I was a student union leader. In 1983, we went for NANS Congress, and the candidate from the north came with an aeroplane chartered for him by NPN. Awolowo in the west, UPN, had a candidate, and another, I think Abiola had another candidate. So we had a situation where there were four aspirants for the president of NANS, and all of them were backed up by different. We actually were part of the RIMI, what inclined towards socialism. So we were part of a group called the RIMI generation, leaning towards Aminu Kano's policy, the Talakawas and all that. So we refused to continue with NANS. But then we found out that there couldn't be a revolution because we had revolutionary ideas. Because if it is led by an Igbo man, a Hausa man will not support. If it's led by a Hausa man, Igbo man or Yoruba man will not support. So now I refuse to, even when I was working with Basi Eko, Edwin Madunago, Escort Toyo, I realized that there was no need for a tag. We are A or B. No, let's be realistic. Let's vacillate towards what will work for us and then survive us. Look at what is happening with, like I heard you mention something about water bill.
Yes.
So somebody, as we're speaking, if you want to start fishing in Akpabuyu, in your village, you have to go to Nimasa and get permission. You have to go to inland waterways in Abuja and get permission before you can do fishing in your village in Akpabuyu.
Wow.
What kind of system is that? As you are sitting, if you have chippings at the backyard of your house, you can't even exploit or explore. You have to go to Abuja and get permission. In short, you could stay, since the constitution has it that everything on top of the land and below the land belongs to federal government. You have a situation where the federal government is taking care of electricity. If you generate power like Akwa Ibom has generated, you cannot utilize that power for your people. They generate power from somewhere in Ikorobasi. You have to feed it to the national grid, where they will serve Lagos that consumes about 70% of the power in Nigeria. That is what is happening. Until and unless we extricate or take away certain parts of what is federal government doing with education, primary education, secondary, federal government. So until and unless we extricate those parts and forget the exclusive list and let federal government concentrate on security of the nation, and maybe diplomacy, defense, security, and to an extent taxation, We should generate our revenue here and pay a certain percentage. You have a situation where somebody says, Sharia, I don't drink alcohol. Then VAT on alcohol is shared to the states. When they do VAT, they generate almost all the taxes in Lagos and share to Kanu that has banned the consumption of alcohol. We need to be realistic in everything we do and then act accordingly. When once the people feel this sense of justice, they will be able to help and participate in good governance. Otherwise, everybody is striving to take as much as they can. I have a situation, Cross River State cut off point 300, Katsina 20. What are we doing? And you say we're a nation. We have so much we need to run after. Anyway, since we got Calabar, Ogoja rivers, almost at the point of the beginning of the Civil War, there's no way the eastern part of the country would have expected us to join Biafra. So they keep on upsetting us every day. When you go to Facebook, you see a map of Biafra and they draw in Cross River, Akwa Ibom, and that is the level of impunity and insolence, where people feel they can grab. Look at the issue of Bakassi. They started the war. The Bakassi area was known as Isaac Boro Camp,
Okay.
and Nigerian soldiers were there. Biafran soldiers were there. But Biafrans then started landing when they were blockaded from the west, Lagos Island, started landing equipment and food at that area. Gowon called Ahmad Wahijo, the president of Cameroon, and said, please, if you can help us block Biafra and prevent them from using that as a launching base, we will give you part of Nigeria. And here we are, being minority. They farmed our land out and then gave us out, and nothing has been done. As we speak, the Green Tree Agreement that gave away Bakassi has not been domesticated by National Assembly. But they had the guts of even telling us we were landlocked. Nobody's doing it. As I'm speaking to you, for 2 weeks now, they've been begging us to send proposals. They are trying to do amendment of the Constitution, National Assembly. Nobody in the state is doing anything. Even for that request we put before them, that for loss of Bakassi, we should be able to have money paid to us as compensation in perpetuity. They were paying 500 million, but after 4 or 5 years, they've stopped. So we propose that Bakassi should become a special economic zone where we'll be able to actualize the potentials of that region and be able to maximize the benefit therein. But nobody is saying anything. So we too, we are not being proactive. We're just there. Whatever they dish out to us, we just take and so that is us in Nigeria. Then the evolution and where we are and where we move to from here is what we may discuss, and then I can talk more about that.
Okay, Honorable. Thank you so much for all of that response. But so, because we do not have so much time on our hands now, and we'll be joined very shortly by Jerry Shire, member PDP caretaker committee, I beg your pardon. But just before he joins us, we know the military regime took us many decades backwards.
PDP committee where?
Abuja,
National.
national.
Or is it?
We don't have, except the APC. PDP has a substantive executive.
Okay. Well, we'll handle that
Okay,
later.
well,
Probably you
He will explain himself, please.
explain himself.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared, sir. Okay, so we know that the military regime took us many decades backwards, and the democratic regime or civil regime that we are enjoying today is flawed structurally. What, in your opinion, do you think should happen? A modification, or should we completely rescind what we have now?
Well, I have a personal view about that. But you see, when you consider what they call gerrymandering in politics, where they carve out territories, like the whole of Cross River State, we have 8 representatives in the House of Reps. Kano State has 44. I think 44 local governments and all that. Then Katsina. So if you consider former Kano, they have close to 70 something representatives. About 2 states, they have more representatives than members in the whole of South South. because having come from Kano, just did that for Kano. We have 18 local government. Kano has 44. Katsina has, I think, 38 or 39. So Katsina and Kano State, one former state, when Lagos was a state, Lagos still has 20. They now have 70 something. That is injustice. We can't make progress with so much injustice. We cannot. So we have a situation where the House of Rep, if you try to, we fought that they should remove NYC from the Constitution. The idea was to galvanize this country, to make sure we knew ourselves and all. But here it's NYC put in the Constitution instead of just made as from an act of parliament where you can always easily amend. But they put in the Constitution where you need 2/3 of the whole nation to even change, even when they were killing youth corpers during that last election. And parents were ready to let go instead of allowing their kids go for embassy. So we have a situation where when they're against you, there will be so much against you that they will write it into a document so that you cannot escape from it. So that is the situation we are. The system is doctored to keep us in perpetual slavery.
So your opinion would be we should just do away with the entire
You can't
structure.
do away. That's an invitation to pure chaos.
Okay.
What we are saying is that to an extent, we should do true federalism.
True federalism.
True
Okay.
federalism. Let us control. The state should control those minerals they find in those states.
Okay. True federalism it is.
And pay token to the federal government.
Okay. Just hold your thoughts, Honorable. We'll take a break now and we'll return in a moment. Stay with us. Okay, because we have less than 3 minutes to get out of here. We'd like to have last words.
Okay, maybe my favorite one, the Nigerian anthem, there's a line that says, a nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity. Now, Nigeria at 60, those attributes, do they hold?
When Nigeria is 60, we are still crawling. But there is hope. Crawling in that we've not been able to get anything up somewhere. Countries are pursuing literacy level 97%. We are still hovering around 50. We've been at 50 for so long. Where we have a situation where, like in Singapore, somebody sent me a document on that. 2 women die per 100,000, per 1,000 at childbirth. Nigeria is over 1,000. I'm telling you that per 100,000 women.
Wow.
Even children mortality rate, if you know the number of kids that die before they get to 1 year, you won't believe it. We have so much. See the budget we give for education. Without educating us, even like I mentioned that we are all to fight for states, we are to fight for Bakassi. Nobody's doing anything because we don't care. We are not well informed. We don't even have the wherewithal to get there. So, and it's not only here. Some villages, they know nothing. Some don't even believe they are part of Nigeria. You see a situation, look at the Calabar-Itu Road, where you know that all the houses and projects in Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Bayelsa are built with chippings from Akampa. We have a situation where over 8,000 trucks pass through that road per day.
Wow.
And they say it's federal road. It's such a bad state.
So just leave a word, sir.
If that's all we pray that if we are there should be restructuring actually. Okay. We need to restructure for us to be able to make progress in the future. Why I want to say this is that all the forces are still militating against us in Africa. I want to just add this so that you know. I have to mention it.
We do not really have that time now because
I know.
comes
I
up
want to land by saying that
okay.
Where we are primary product producers, we have cocoa in Nigeria, but they do chocolate in Switzerland. Price of chocolate will never fall. The price of cocoa will fall. So we need to have transfer of technology. If you are coming to get our primary produce out, you should be able to transfer technology. Let us be able, you cannot get a palm oil and then come back and sell soap to us as a more exorbitant rate.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us. If you leave him, he's going to just keep going and going. Yeah. All right, that is where the curtain drops on Nightline Nigeria today. Do join us again tomorrow at 7 p.m. for a more interesting edition of Nightline Nigeria. Remember, it's a series, Nigeria.